The activity today is one that is intended to share with you our experience over the cycle of the project in Guyana and to see how best we can capture those experiences as we unfold our efforts in this regard, as was articulated by the Permanent Secretary a short while ago. Now, the Cariled project to most of you is not, or Cariled as an acronym is not something new. So I will not get into its significance. EPS would have said that it's a regional project and so on. Suffice to say, however, that there is a important concept that is contained in that acronym, the concept of local economic development. And the concept of local economic development, as I understand it, as we understand it, it's an approach to development which argues that economies are more robust in their construct when those economies are built from the bottom up. In other words, when we have strong local economies, strong economies at the community level. The main success of our project, Cariled, and the PS would have or may have given some legs to this contention, which I will put forward, is that it rests with the timely reminder of an alternative approach to development. That approach of community building, or building our nation from the community level. It reminded us of that approach, and it reminded us of the relevance of that approach. It still remains very relevant today. Unfortunately, many of us became enamored with the new economic thinking of market will resolve quite a few things in our lives, and it never happened. And so our communities were left to languish in many regards. So I think conceptually this is the biggest success of our project, is that it came at a time and pointed us. In Guyana, lead is not new, but it would not have been called lead. But it reminded us of the need to focus on our nation building from the community level. And I think that is a success that cannot be overstated. To come to some more tangible programmatic outputs, the project would have been able to do quite a number of things, which I will not attempt to enumerate this morning, just some key ones. The update of municipal development plans, we worked with a number of, there were 5 municipalities exact, and we worked with them to update those plans. Plans were initially done by a predecessor of an MGMP, another Canadian project, and those plans would expired, I think, was in 2014. So we worked to support them to update those plans. We did a number of local area economic profiles and led strategic plans, both for municipalities and NDCs. But I think, again, and I will have to emphasize this, the significant benefit of that exercise, while the documents produced are in themselves have great utility, the significance of the process, I think, lies in the exercise, lies in the process of the learning that took place while we were engaging in a number of workshops to share on various concepts and their interrelationships in the planning process.
When we came in mid-August, Mr. Scott Pearson and myself, we participated in workshop with a lot of people in the room right now from your different communities, Linden, New Amsterdam, Rosal, Georgetown, and we all learn so much from each other. And we have been, Mr. Pearson and myself, been able to witness all the the work you have been done since most of you have been recently elected as in your local authorities or the neighborhood authorities. You yourself and we worked on how we can build stronger communities. How can you do the difference in your local municipalities? Because like you know your communities, the level of government, the closest to the citizen is your level. And the central government in Guyana, like elsewhere, cannot do everything. We strongly believe that it comes from the base, bottom up, and not top down. There is a lot of challenge on which you have to work, but by having a good governance, by having leaders, because you obviously are leaders in your local communities, by working together, one step at a time, I think it's the only way to succeed. The challenges you have in Guyana are also at another level challenges that we have in Canada. I come from a little community, a rural community of 35,000 people, where we have a lot of issues also. Dropout in school. We have criminality raising. We have the central government gives less and less service to the families, to the elderly people. So it's the local government that plays more and more that role. We can say that it's not our responsibility, it's the central government. But bottom line, at the end of the day, the local government is the closest to the citizen, and you can make the difference. And I think you're working the right way together. And I was very encouraged when I came in August to see all the dedication that you have towards your community, and how you're willing to work to have improve the quality of life of everybody living in your community. And this is great to see young people, to see women get involved, and it's the key to success.
It is my pleasure here this morning to have the opportunity to give these brief remarks. First, we are often reminded that all good things come to an end. And whilst indeed we have heard from two of our previous speakers that today's workshop and today's closeout activity does not signal or herald the end of this program, but that there are real prospects for its continuation. Nonetheless, today's activity does, in a sense, constitute the end of this phase of the program. And in this regard, it is somewhat bittersweet, our presence here this morning. I'd first like to acknowledge the work that has been done by this program under the Cariled program in supporting local government development by providing vital training as well as facilitating activities leading towards institutional strengthening and capacity building within and among local government organs. In so doing, I'd like to thank the government and people of Canada for their support, which in our context is certainly timely and most welcome. I think, if I was not mistaken, all of the previous speakers this morning have alluded to the timeliness of the Cariled program. And I believe that the clear reference was to the new relevance that local government has assumed within our governance architecture and national administration. It is a fact that the world over, that local government is assuming a greater role in public affairs and in public administration. Marion has spoken of the fact that local governments today have an acknowledged seat at the table, and that no one questions the role of local government in the delivery of national administration and in the quest to build and develop stronger, safer, more secure, and resilient communities. And we've also heard that there's a valid reason for this, and it is that locally elected officials are closer to people, thus more in tune with the needs of people, whether they live in towns or in villages. A vital element and ingredient of local government is this element of volunteerism, which is what you, locally elected officials, offer in service to your communities. And it is this that the central government both acknowledges and celebrates, and thank you for your efforts. Because without your coming to the fore, and without your coming forward to offer this role of leadership in support of the development and developmental activities in your communities, then the work of national governments would be more difficult. We have begun to see that local government is beginning to take its rightful place within, as I said, the governance architecture. As that begins to develop and grow and becomes more embedded, the beneficiaries will be our people, will be our communities, because as a result of your efforts and your leadership, this is what will help to bring about stronger, safer, more secure, and more resilient communities. And there's been training in good practices in local government planning. And as we have heard, very shortly we will have the completion of a very important tool, and one that is critically needed, which is a guide for councillors, and a draft which is now in possession of the ministry and which we are trying to refine and finalize to have its completion the earliest possible date, so that that instrument and that tool can be made available to all of the 1,160 elected officials in our 71 local government organs, as well as in our RDCs. The administration is committed to extending the hand of support, to seek to have cooperation and collaboration. We are not in the business of confrontation with our local government organs, and to be able to provide support and meaningful engagement to assist councils, to help to provide the institutional training, strengthening, and the capacity building, which are all badly needed in varying degrees by councils, to allow for your ability to be able to effectively discharge your responsibility. So with those few remarks, I'd once again like to thank all of the officials from the Cariled program, and in particular our principal donor, the Government and People of Canada. And I'd like to finally again acknowledge and to thank all of you, our practitioners in local government, and to encourage of you to continue giving of your best in support of the development of your respective communities. Thank you very much.